Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Lash Platform. Today we are talking about inner and outer corners. I'm going to share with you a couple tips that will help you get fuller inner corners and also help with those outer corners to last just a little bit longer and help them not kind of droop. We all know what you're talking about, right? Put lashes on, plump, they fall to the side. So I'm going to share a few quick tips with you as I throw my marker, and we will just kind of jump right into it. So I'm going to start with talking about the inner corner. The inner corner can be very, very tricky sometimes. So I want to point a few things out. So if we're looking at our lash line here, okay, so the nose is over here. Let's just pretend, okay? So the nose is here. Here's my inner corner, middle section, outer corner. So we always have less lashes on the outer and inner corners. The outer corner lashes tend to curl outward and be a little bit harder to place. The inner corner are just a lot more sparse. So a couple things that you really want to do when you're working with lashes is crush the inner and outer corners, because if you do, it makes your whole set look a million times better. The worst thing is when you kind of look at a full set when you're done and that inner corner is just bugging you, there's a gap there, or the outer corners are just all tilted. Completely understand, we've all been there, all done that. So we're gonna go right into the inner corners, okay? So when we're looking at the lash line, it always goes very thin and of course shorter, and then usually there's a slight gap, and then there's like a couple more lashes on that really, really inner corner. First thing I want you to do is just cut those bad boys out, okay? Do not lash those random sparse little ones all the way down in the inner corner, because when they open their eye, those lashes are going to end up poking and bugging them anyway, and it's just going to have a gap there that you really don't want to deal with. Now, when I'm working with inner corners, of course, I always recommend 7 and 8 millimeters, sometimes 6 millimeters, depending on what you're doing. I know those are harder to work with, but they make a huge difference, and it gives you that sharp inner corner drop that makes the eye just look so beautiful. So number one to do is cut out those random little strays that have that gap and are just hanging out by themselves. Because even if you start where the hairs are more consistent, it's gonna go all the way into the inner corner anyway, and you're gonna be just fine. Now, let's pretend this client is getting 0.07 C curl, okay? That's what we're doing the full set in. Now, we're not going to talk about lengths right now. I'm just going to talk about what you need to do to get fuller sets, and this can go into play with any lash set that you're doing. So with the inner corners, the one thing you always want to do is drop diameter, okay? So I am now going, and I'm just talking my inner corner section, okay? So right here. I'm going to drop diameter to a 0.6 or 0.5, whatever your preference is. And I am going to create larger fans for the inner corner, okay? So let's say whether you're doing wispy or smaller fans, whatever you're doing, you want to create large. So what I mean by large is like at least a 60, 70 fan, and you want to open them up a little bit more, okay? So let's say you decided to do a 4D, 5D set. I at least want 6D or 7D on the inner corner, but I have drop diameter. The reason you drop diameter is because you are putting more lashes into that fan, and so you want to make sure to restore the health of the natural lash, and it's always weaker on the inner corner anyway. So drop diameter, make a bigger fan, okay? The reason is by making these larger fans, so I'm going to kind of stand over here so you can see. By making these larger fans, you are going to create more coverage on the inner corner lashes, okay? So you guys get my gist on this, right? I'm creating larger, wider fans. Now that's going to give me full coverage on my inner corner, okay? If you're just doing regular 4D fans, what's going to happen is it's going to look sparse, and you're going to get those holes in there because there's not as many natural lashes as through the middle of the lash line, okay? So inner corner, you want to make sure to drop diameter and do larger, wider fans, okay? Don't get too wide, don't get crazy and let the lashes go out, but bigger, more full fans, okay? Now, another trick on the inner corners. You have to remember that when the client opens their eyes, everything kind of falls, okay? The inner corners fall, the outer corners fall, okay? So when you are placing, I'm gonna do kind of a zoom up right here. When you are placing on the inner corners, a little trick that I like to do, and I do this all the time, is I want to place on the inside of my inner corner. So what I mean by that, if this is kind of right here, I want to make sure to place my volume fans on the sides. Okay, so I'm placing my fan here on the side, here on the side. Okay, I don't like placing directly on top. The reason is because once you open, again, that fan's gonna fall. If, let's say I'm on this side, okay, and I have my natural lash, and I place my fan on the outside, when it opens, that natural hair is kind of pushing upward still. Now, if I place my fan on this side or underneath, it will pull it down, okay? The extra weight's gonna pull it. So by putting it on the inside of the natural lash, so inside, it's always gonna kind of stay more upright and be a more flattering look on your client, okay? Those rules. Drop diameter, make a wider fan, place on the inside. Let's move to the outer corner. Same trick with placement on the outer corner. I want to place towards the middle, okay, on the inside, towards the middle of the eye, because I want those outer corners, especially outer corners, because those twist so much, to stay upright and stay full and not twist and go sideways. So same thing though. I'm going to drop diameter. I'm going to make bigger, wider fans, and I'm going to place on the inside of the natural lashes. Also on the outer corner, it is always smart to drop down in length as well. Even if you're doing a cat eye, you have to remember that, you know, let's say your client wants short to long, they want that cat eye. I'm gonna get close to you here. Even when I place these lashes here on the outer corner, when my eye opens, these are gonna hang down, okay? You have to remember that. The lashes placed here, once the client opens, are going to fall and cover more of the area. So even if I carry my longest length out to right here, on these little baby ones that twist to the side, by placing shorter lengths, all it's gonna do is create more fullness and coverage there. And those ones that are longer that you placed up here are still gonna hide those little guys underneath there. So always make sure to drop down no matter what you're doing and create bigger, more full fans on the inside of the eye. So if you think of like a median line in the middle, always place towards the middle on the lash line. So I hope this was helpful. This is a huge tip that makes those sets it just makes the biggest difference in the world. So put this into play. Let me know how it goes. I want to see pictures. I want to see how things are going. And if you have any questions, again, please don't ever hesitate to reach out to me.